As promised, here's part two. This is when we're given a chart and asked to find the amount. So here's my chart. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so that we can see everything. There we go. One more. Okay, so here we have our expenses pie chart, and we have the largest section is housing at 39%. The next would be food at 20, utilities at 15, clothing 10, entertainment 5, savings 5, and travel 6. Okay, the instructions say using the chart, find out how much money was spent if the total budget was $1,200 or $1,200. So what we want to do is find out clothing. Okay, so clothing was 10% of the budget. In fact, if you heard me say that, 10% of, in math, whenever you hear the word of as an operation, it means multiply. So what we need to do is 10%, 10% of means multiply. 10% of the budget. Well, the budget, we were told, is $1,200. So I need 10% times 1,200. Wait, multiplying with a percent doesn't make a lot of sense. So we need to do the opposite of what we did in part one, which was just this last section up here. Changing something to a percent, we moved it to the right two places to make it a percent. We need to multiply this, but I can't multiply with the percent. I need to change this back to a decimal. So I need to, sorry, I'm going to make that an actual zero. I'm going to take this decimal and move it back two places to the left and put it here. So I really have 0.1 times my 1200. And here, when you multiply, you don't need to line up the decimals, you just multiply. So here I have 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 2 is 2. And 1 times 1 is 1. Now here, the difference between multiplying and adding with decimals, in adding you line them up, in multiplying you count how many from the right side. So I come back, I have one decimal place. I don't have any up here, so I only need to do one down here. So starting at the right, I move it over one place value. There we go. So the answer is 120, which matches, so I feel comfortable moving on. And I'm going to do some erasing. If you needed to see that a little longer, go ahead and press pause or rewind so that you can see that. But I'm erasing it so that I can move on to the next problem, which says find out how much was spent on food. Food, it tells me, is 20%. So again, I'm going to take this 20% and make it into a decimal. So the decimal's here, I need to move it over 1, 2, because I'm reversing it from the percent to the decimal, which is 0.2. So I need 0.2 or 20% of the $1,200 budget. Of means multiply, so I'm going to multiply to my $1,200 budget. There we go. So now I need to, I'm going to write it out. 1,200 times 0.2 so that it looks nice. Okay, 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 again is still 0. 2 times 2 is 4. And 2 times 1 is 2. And I need to count up how many decimal places I have. Again, I only have 1. So down here I'm going to move it over 1, which ends up being 240. There we go. And because this has place or has units attached, I need to make sure that I make that a dollar sign so that it's $240 because it has a context to it. It's not just a unitless number. Again, I'm going to erase this, and if you needed to see that again, or I'm erasing it too quickly, you can go back or press pause. Okay, the next one, housing. Housing is 39% of the $1,200 budget. Now some of you are thinking, I could do this in my head because I can do tithing and I know I just move the decimal over 1. And that's fine. That's the quick way and you can do that. Another person is saying 20% is just double tithing. And so they would just move the decimal over once, which is 120, and double that, which is 240. That's great mental math. However, I wanted to make sure that you knew how to do it by hand because when we get to 39%, it's not as easy as tithing. So now that we know the process, we can come down here and change my percent, 39% to the decimal point. Remember, we need to move it over 2 place values, so it's 0.39 and times it to the 1200. Okay, because that's going to get a little longer, I think I'm going to erase even more. I need some more room. 0.39 times 1200. Come up here. Ignore this. 0.39 times 1200. Okay, so I'm going to set that up. 1200 or 1200 times 0.39. Remember, with multiplication, you don't have to line them up. With addition, you do. Okay, 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 0 again is 0. 9 times 2 is 18, so I need the 8 here. Carry the 1 here. Okay, and then 9 times 1 is 9, plus 1 is 10. All right, now I need to multiply with a 3, but it's in the second place value, so I need to make sure I do a 0 here. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 2 is 6. Oops. And 3 times 1, ignoring this carry, because we did that for the 9, 3 times 1 is 3. Add these together gives me 0, 0, 8, 6, 4. Okay, now that I've multiplied them, I need to make sure where the decimal goes. Here I actually have 2 place values, where the previous ones I only had 1. So I need to move this decimal on the answer over 2, right there, so I have 468. And because this has a context of money, I need to add a dollar sign, and it matches $468. Okay, so that was that type of problem. Now we're going to move to the very last story type problems. So here we have price is $71.25. The tax rate is 6%. How much money are you going to be paying in tax? Same idea as before, because up here, because I have 6% of $71.25. Of means multiply. So I need to multiply my 6% to the 71.25. But I need to make this a decimal. And I'm going to type it out because my handwriting is probably driving everyone crazy, especially on the computer. So here I have 6%. Remember, I need to move my decimal over 2 times. So can you do that with me? Moving it over twice is 0.06. Okay, so now I have that. I need to multiply that to the 71.25, and I apologize, we're just going to have to go back to my handwriting. So here we have 71.25, and I need to multiply that by 0.06. Okay, there we go. Let's 6 times 5 is 30, and I apologize, we're going to have to write over that. Carry the 3, bring the 0 down. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 is 15. I hope I'm going at a good speed for you. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and then 6 times 7, 6 times 7 is 42. There we go. Now I need to count how many decimals I have. This one, I have decimals on the top and the bottom. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 decimals here. So I need to move this bottom one. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 4.275. Wait, this is talking about money. And I know money stops at the hundredths place value here. So even though it didn't tell me round to the nearest hundredths place value, I'm going to because I know the context. This is money. So I'm going to look to the right. This 5 is the rounding cutoff. 5 is where it rounds up. So this answer should be $4.28. And it matches. Looks good. Okay, let's move to the next one. This one, I'm going to give myself a little bit more room. One more. There we go. Then I have some room without erasing. Okay, just like before, we're going to kind of work this out into our English, which is I have 32% of the attendees are men. So of means multiply. So I need to change this first of all to the decimal, and I'll do the same thing I did before. Changing that to a decimal, I need to move it over 2 times. 1, 2, which makes this 0.32. Of means multiply, so I need to just multiply those. 1200 times 0.32. There we go. Okay, so 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 again, 0. 2 times 2 is 4. And 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, now I'm going to move over for the 3, but it goes here, so I need to fill in the place value with the holder of 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 2 is 6. And 3 times 1 is 3. Add these up. Down here I have 0, 0, 4, 8, 3. Okay, now I need to just go count how many decimals I have. 1, 2. There's none on the top, so I just need to move the bottom over for my answer over to 2. And I have 384. And this also has a context. It already told me it's men, so I need to label that as 384 men. Okay, our very last one for section for decimals, and we have students. There are 20. Number of bees, there are 5. What percent of students have a B? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is make this a fraction. 5 out of 20 students have B's. Find the percent. Now that we have the fraction, we know how to find the percent. We just divide. You take the top number, divide it by the bottom number, and then change that decimal over, moving the decimal over 2 times to a percent. Okay, so 20 will not go into a 5, so I need to give myself a decimal on the inside and a 0. And don't forget that decimal goes up on the division sign for the answer. 20 goes into 50 2 times. 2 times 20 is 40. Subtract is 10. 20 won't go into 10, so I need to give myself another 0. 20 will go into 100 a full 5 times. 5 times 20 is 100. Subtract is 0. So our answer is 0.25. But wait, it asked for a percent. So remember, percent means per 100. 100 is 2 decimal places. It moves over here. These little things can remind you that you've moved it over 2 place values. And the answer is 25%. Perfect. All right, that's the end of part 2. Good luck on your homework and email me if you have any more questions.